Okay. So, thank technical. I um, and I'm just connected with my friend Alejandro from Friends app. I'm gonna see if can maybe do some uh video together. So just bear with me. Awesome. So if you're at home and watching and you want to get connected to the game, um, go to our website, and I'm just copying it here. Um, and it's free to play while it's on exhibit at the Whitewater Gallery. It's a 2000 adaptation of the classic space. Using the Unity platform, um, Elizabeth Lentz developed Invaders, and the art is by Stephen Paul Judd, and the music is by Trevino Brings Plenty. It's friggin' awesome music. Um, okay, so edit this and see. Um, let's see if I can hear you. Can you say something?
Uh,
Yeah, I can hear you. Can everyone
you
else?
can hear me?
Yeah, can chat box with me? Just give us an indication in the chat if you can hear Alejandro talking. I'm just working on
Yes.
adding.
1, 2, 3.
I need to edit this.
E- Let's see.
Here, I know what to do. Whoa, screen. Here we go.
See, I'm connected finally. I can see everyone.
Okay, this. Okay, let's check this out. All right. It's not
Yes.
perfect, but I think it works. So wow,
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
awesome to see you. How's it going?
Good, good. And you? Finally
Oh man,
Friday.
I know. And what a perfect time to play.
Yes. Yes,
So
please.
so I threw the link in the Twitch chat. So I'm gonna play it while we talk. So I hope you're a good multitasker. Um so
Yes.
there's a awesome. You can also play it on a tablet if it's easier for you to navigate that while we're conversing. I have the desktop version. You can see it loading up. It's
Yeah.
gonna be really loud, so I'm gonna need to adjust the sound.
No worries. I think I can play it here.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. And while it's loading up, why don't you introduce yourself and the application?
Oh yes, yes. Name is Alejandro Mayoral, um, or for a lot of the people in Mexico, they call me like a shishiwa. That means man with a beard, or man with hair in the face. That's the actual direct translation of that name. As I always mention to a lot of people, I'm from the tip of the tail of Turtle Island, and I have been part of IFA since the beginning, since the foundation, Indigenous Friends Association. A group of crazy people at York University, being students, we start imagining how we can create safer spaces for youth, and that's how we started this crazy story, as we always say, a story of creating digital technology. um, and something very important about what we do is that we are incorporating traditional knowledge, that we are incorporating protocols into the space, in order to actually try to create safer spaces for folks. And what we discover is there is a lot of knowledge that actually can be used to create better platforms, and better ways of creating the digital. So I'm so excited to be here with you playing video games, because there is a lot of significance of video games. Video
Oh,
games have a lot of impact, because a video game is a storytelling. It's a storytelling of ways of knowing, a storytelling of different futures, alternative futures, and a lot of video games actually reflect the imagination of a lot of people, of a lot of creators. And as I always say, a digital game is a perfect example of a digital application, because it incorporates a lot of art, a lot of coding, and a lot of outreaching. So it's like how you need to bundle that in order to create a video game. So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm so glad that you invited me for this conversation playing video game. And I see that there are some people from Indigenous Friends here with us today. They are so excited, and they have been practicing a lot of video games. And I'm so excited. Probably both of you are gonna beat me, but that's totally fine.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
fantastic. So feel free to say hi in the chat to all the Indigenous friends folks. And if you have any questions for Alejandro, feel free to ask. And we're gonna get into this game now. The competition has begun. So this is my current high score, which is 27,100. And this is because I played for an hour 2 weeks ago on Twitch. So you will get better as you're playing it, trust me. But my coworker, our programming director at the Whitewater Gallery, Mitchell Ellum, he's the current high score holder with 27,400. So that's the
Wow.
official high score to beat. But if you clear through 30,000, like you're just you're just like next level. And when you're talking about storytelling, like that's what I love about this game is because like what a story it is telling. And if you've started to hear the music or if you've logged on, it just like it really pumps you up too. So this is gonna be fun.
Yes.
Gotta stay hydrated for this. Okay. Okay, wait, I need to remember the controls. Okay. So I do a double hand technique. I use the arrow keys and the
Oh my god.
Did I already lose a life? No, I'm good. Okay, sweet. Oh geez, it's this guy gets me every time. Oh, I got him.
Oh
Oh
my god.
geez.
Oh my god. I already lost.
There's some
I,
patience. You gotta kind
yeah.
of like look at. I'm just like kind of sneaking over. Oh my god, look at this. This is unbelievable. This is the stress of colonization right here.
Oh my goodness.
Gifts from the ancestors dropping down.
Yes, stress of reconciliation, whatever that means.
Oh jeez, oh
Woo!
jeez. Uh oh. That's a warm up. It's a warm up.
Okay. Oh my God, you have been practicing a lot.
Well, I played for a whole hour 2 weeks ago. Like, okay, you gotta
Fun
do
enough.
wrist exercises.
It's an entire working out. Uh, entire workout. Let's do it.
So long day of defending against the invaders. One of the conversations I always appreciate having with you is like how do we um protect indigenous knowledge and then also across indigenous indigenous in digital in digital spaces.
Yes. So, interesting part about indigenous knowledge is that since colonization, a lot of the colonizers saw indigenous knowledge as something that can be extracted from the communities. So there was never respect for indigenous knowledge. There was no respect for the data of communities. So right now with digital media and social media, of course, that has been boosted, and now we are in a massive extraction of indigenous knowledge. And now what is happening is when we go into these spaces in any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we don't think about all the rights that we are giving to these platforms to share the information. So something that we are trying to do from our organization is trying to educate youth how they need to be aware of what is going on in digital spaces, and how important is to actually talk about data protection and about how to protect indigenous knowledge in the cyberspace. Right now, let's put an example. I always like to work around examples. Right now, if I decide that I want to create a post about our experience playing this video game, and I take a screenshot, and I go and I post it on Facebook, I'm giving a license to Facebook about that picture. So actually now Facebook has the ownership of my picture, and that means all the art that is included in the picture. So from there, you can imagine all the misappropriation that happens around that.
Yeah,
So
because
there,
it's not
uh,
only like Facebook taking something that you post, but then you also can't control if someone is posting something of you. So
yeah,
even if you stay off the platform, it's like there's still so much ownership that's going directly to that company.
yes, yes, and I think the assumption of a lot of people, and especially of the government and a lot of corporations, is that indigenous knowledge can be just taken, right?
Yeah.
That it's something that is available for everyone, and the indigenous peoples should be open to like open that knowledge to everyone. So when you start these conversations with a lot of stakeholders and with a lot of organizations and um, non-indigenous institutions, they become upset because they want to own the knowledge. It's funny because they don't respect indigenous peoples or indigenous communities, but they want to own the knowledge. So there is no ethics at all. Is we don't respect you, we don't give you rights, we are stealing your land, but we still want your knowledge.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna
and
be very Go ahead, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, cuz I was just thinking about like I just think about like protocols and levels of initiation and the way that those are forms of ancient cryptography, and kind of how this like Web 3.0 movement and the blockchain is like a lot of it is kind of this subculture of like crypto punks, and just kind of like the what you thought as like the difficulties and also the opportunities of like blockchain technology for indigenous developers and
Yes,
artists.
yes, there is a lot of approaches. There are a lot of approaches out there, and especially how to protect indigenous knowledge. And I think what is very interesting is going back to a lot of practices and protocols, and how that can be related to blockchain, and how that can be related to a lot of things that are happening nowadays. So sometimes I have heard some folks saying like,
Oh, did you freeze? Okay, I think if I click out, lost. Oh, we were getting so. Oh,
I'm here. Guess what happened? The wind blow something in my building, and I don't have electricity.
oh
So that's,
wow.
yeah, but that's totally fine. I have my mobile phone that I don't use, the data in my mobile phone that I don't use anymore because I'm all day working from home.
That's true, eh? Yeah, we're never even leaving our Wi-Fi anymore.
Now Wi-Fi is like a commodity. Um, yeah, it's like now an essential service. It's becoming an essential service.
Oh my gosh, and then also since COVID started, there's been more outages because of use, I guess, which is pretty interesting.
Yes, yes, and also I think people are more aware of those issues because now that can really affect your entire day, and people
Absolutely.
are like, you know, yes. I don't
So
know where I left. I
yeah, I think we were just talking about the intersection of ancient indigenous cryptography and the blockchain.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there is a lot of work about like how, for example, the wampum belts were the first type of hyperlinks, and actually the
Hyperlinks,
same.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
like because basically in a wampum belt you can see that there is a lot of connections to things outside of the wampum belt. So actually the conception of the wampum belt has the same logic as hyperlinks. And now, if we start analyzing a lot of the different indigenous technology that was developed a lot of millennia ago, you will see that there are a lot of similarities and a lot of connections between a lot of the current digital technologies with those technologies. It's not that these technologies were based on indigenous technology, but they're the at the end of the day, the applications, the applicability in the real life experience is basically the same.
And it's
So
just
we
because
are
it's
getting to the
smart.
same conclusion.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But then we also had some really great conversations over the years about the importance of the nuances and the differences of perspectives, especially when it comes down to the base languages in which these environments are created. Um, like so talking about not just the importance of like the revitalization of indigenous languages, but the revitalization and creation of indigenous coding languages, so that we're also shaping these environments. I'd love to hear you talk more about that.
Oh yes, one important aspect that we need to consider is all these digital spaces are conceived in Silicon Valley under certain values, and commonly in an English like programming coding language with a certain like Western logic. But sometimes it's not accurate to real life experiences, and actually, and you can hear that in a lot of the digital environment, how always everything is conceived in as a binary. And as we
Yes.
know, there that is really problematic because nothing in nature is binary. So now there is a lot of talks, not just about creating programming languages with indigenous languages, but also with a different logic, non-binary logic,
I,
because
as a
that
non-binary person, love that obviously. And then also look at this 55,000. I want to see some screenshots. Tag
yes,
us.
and we don't believe that. And of course, you will get a lot of candy. So we need to see the 55,000.
We need to see it. You can tag the Whitewater Gallery. We'll repost it, and that'll be the new high score. Amazing, amazing. I can't even believe it. I broke my own high score, but I'm gonna die. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I just sacrificed myself to
Oh my
get
god.
past. There it is, 28. Oh my god, yay! But 55, I don't know. That's a high standard. That's a serious high standard.
I will share my screen. I will share my screen. So everyone, if I receive that information, if that is true, everyone will be able to see it.
Fabulous, fabulous. Oh my gosh. Um, Yeah, because so much of culture is embedded in all of our languages. So much of that, like when you think about different English terms for like woman and wife, there's like the gender binary locked up in those definitions. And I don't know a lot about French, but I know that there's kind of cute references to cats and different things. Um and there's things in like Anishinaabe that are such massive indications to worldview. Like I just love the different references to emanating light, uh, and kind of viewing people in the immaterial. Um, and so yeah, having those worldviews within coding languages seems like such an opportunity for massive innovation, and I think especially in terms of quantum computing, because I've heard it said so often that Algonquin based languages, um,
Uh-huh.
being ones based in verbs, communicate better the constant fluctuating world of the quantum universe, which is fascinating and fantastic.
I have a lot to say about the quantum computer, but I need to show the 55,000. Oh my god.
Okay, let's see if I can pause this
I
for.
have lost. Wait, I think I can share my screen. Let me see. Yeah. See. You see my screen?
Wow. Okay, so we have a confirmed. I mean, I don't know if the folks on
55,000.
that is there. That is real. That
That is
is
real.
That is
Wow.
next level. That is.
You know,
It's on
when
Insta. I
I
got the.
mentioned
Okay,
when I
go ahead. Yeah, go
mentioned that
ahead.
we were gonna have this session, people like in the team were like, "We're gonna be practicing and see the results." Wow,
That's that's beautiful. Wow. Um
wow.
you set a really high standard. A really, really high standard
Yeah,
for future guests of our Twitch
yeah,
invaders.
yeah.
Like and that's what's so fabulous about this game is like you start playing it and and you're really like there's no way I can get higher than this and then you do, you know, and so that's
Yes,
kind of like
yes.
also a fantastic metaphor for the ongoing resistance and resilience in face of colonization. um wow, that's so fabulous. Okay, I just need to repost this quickly. um I love it, absolutely love it. How are we even how are I wasn't even ready.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. The here we
one important. I think I want to. What is the highest score that people are asking?
There's
Yeah.
lateral violence in the chat box. Stop it. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, gotta stay hydrated when you're gaming. Oh, gotta stretch in between rounds. Ugh.
One important thing that I want to share with folks, and especially the folks that are gonna watch the recording after, is to start thinking about like how the current colonial process in the digital spaces, how is affecting everyone. This is not just affecting indigenous peoples now. This is something that is happening across the globe and is affecting everyone. So what, like, seriously, the indigenous peoples now, we have a lot of experiences to share with everybody else about the colonial experience, and actually how to navigate that colonial power, because that colonial power is not anymore something that is outside of our realm. That's something that is affecting us, like in a daily basis, like every single day and every single moment we are being extracted of data. So
Yeah. And I think
yeah,
that's such an important thing to bring up because I think, you know, one of the biggest tools of the colonial project is this divide and conquer. And the truth is that so many settlers themselves have been colonized. You know, like that happened to them as well. And it's that idea that you know our liberation is tied up in one another. And at the end of the day, when I think about you know what makes the biggest paradigm shift in terms of like innovation, because that's kind of like my background in terms of education, and
huh?
it's centering the most oppressed and those leaders because those solutions benefit everybody at the end of the day, and they're often innovative and fantastic solutions. um and no more white saviorism. I think
Yes.
we've moved beyond the need for any more of that. I mean, at some point it might have been a good band-aid solution, but like we're moving beyond band-aid solutions now.
Yes, definitely. And it's something that I want to share with folks is that in actually in this mentality of the white savior is where like this idea of the digital divide started. How we are gonna save the poor, how we are gonna save the marginalized, and we are just going to provide access to technology. So now they will rely on us, and now there is going to be that dependency on technology that they are not in control of, or they don't simply own that technology. So we are just going to provide a little bit of this, and we are going to create that connection, that dependency, that and and in real life, this is not changing the life of people. This is just creating another way of colonization, another way of relying on outsiders.
Absolutely. It's like impossible to exist these days without an email address. So absolutely the issue of access becomes so important.
I
Um
think more than access is like how you can provide control of those
yes.
tools.
Absolutely. You're absolutely
My God, this is becoming intense.
right. It's amazing how when you get used to it, like I remember like when I first started playing it, I was just amazed that I got past 10,000. I say that and then I die immediately. It's really good at humbling you, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, again, and then you can see the just a little accreditation of the art and the design and music
So
is
Reiki, one thing that I want to ask you,
yeah, absolutely.
how, like from your experience, how you connect the blockchain to indigenous ways of knowing?
Oh my gosh. So I don't really. I kind of at this point am really just curious and kind of exploratory about this new
Do you hear me?
space. Oh, yeah, can you hear me? I think there might be a little time delay is the issue. Okay, so I'm just going to keep talking and you're going to catch up. But I think because there's a lot of opportunity in that space, but I think there's still a lot of really elitist language, and then really for a lot of new types of technology, it's who has the free time to learn about it. And um when you're already within a system that's oppressive, specifically to Black and Indigenous folks, they're not necessarily the ones that are at the forefront shaping it. Um, so for me, I'm just having conversations with other Indigenous digital artists about, you know, what is this space? What does it mean? How does it work? What can we do within it? What should we try and change within it? Because I kind of think of back in high school, I remember writing essays about the ethics of oh my god, the ethics of cloning. And nowadays, freaking people have CRISPR, and it doesn't matter what our ethical opinion is because it's happening regardless. So for me, I don't really know if it has any connections to indigeneity at all, but for me, it's something that I'm just kind of exploring and watching with other people. 42. I can't even with the. I don't think I've broken 30,000 yet. Hopefully, we'll reconnect soon. I think we're having a.
Can you see me now?
You're back. Well, I don't
I'm
see you, but I
back.
hear you.
Something weird is happening.
Well,
Now I think you can see me now.
yeah, it's just like I said, the internet is kind of funky with uh running, so we can do it. We can do our best, and it doesn't even matter because no matter what we do, everyone on your staff is getting better high scores than us anyway. Look at this, 42,900. I can't even.
Now I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious if they work at all. I think they have been just playing this game.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Just getting in trouble. That's yeah, that's why I love working at an art gallery that focuses on visual and media art, because I can spend my Friday afternoon playing video games and having great conversations about colonization and digital art and digital spaces.
For you, like, um, how do you think the digital has impacted the way of creating indigenous art?
It's like I think there's so many layers to it because I think there's like we're also so shaped by like funding.
Yes.
And I think like I remembered a period of time where I just saw so much funding coming out being like mix this mix this new media and ideas of indigeneity together. Um and so I often wonder like how our how these intersections are shaped by the world around us, but
Uh,
also like I was someone in my artist bio I say that I was raised by my grandma's dial-up internet because I
uh,
used to go to my hometown and visit her every summer and winter, but I'd be like on the internet on like Yahoo like chat,
uh, uh,
um and so I have a lot of friends and a lot of like younger friends who have like similar experiences of that. And then just like meeting each other through Instagram, and then just like the ways that we kind of connect with each other in Instagram, and especially around like issues in small towns like cultural appropriation. We're in like cities, you have kind of the population have a critical mass to talk about accountability and to have these conversations, whereas like if you're like one person in Thunder Bay, it's kind of hard. But with like Instagram and the internet, it's like you have all these people that can back you up and support you, and so I think there's a lot of um kind of like alliances and coalitions and relationships that have formed through it, but also it's also in some ways weird relationships form where it's like some people they think they have closer relationships with you than is actually there, or you can fall into those same trappings yourself. um and
mm,
then like you don't really know like about people's lives on the internet, so there's also a lot of I was so close to 30,000. But there's so much
uh,
opportunities for illusion on the internet. So I don't really know. It's like it's impacted so much of us in so many ways.
yes.
Oh, and then also like there's so much like dialogue and controversy around like indigenous TikTok, cuz it's like on one hand
Oh,
like really like cool and awesome and seeing people really like excited and proud about their culture,
uh,
and then other people being like, "Oh man, you're kind of going outside of these protocols about what should be shared and who is the audience to these things." So there's just there's so much there's so much new things and new spaces all at once, and so many conversations to be had that can just be completely overwhelming. And then um the illusion of the platform can make things so confusing to figure out. Like you were saying, people just not being aware of how their data is being used or what kind of rights they're giving up when they use different technologies.
one interesting thing that we have been exploring is we know that a lot of teachings. I always said that this idea of open knowledge is contradictory to a lot of indigenous protocols. And a lot of progressive activists, they are always claiming that knowledge should be open for everyone. But based on indigenous protocols and indigenous practices, not all the knowledge need to be shared with everyone, and especially like ceremonies, especially sacred knowledge. Well, you need to follow certain protocols, and there are reasons for that. So now, how you bring these conversations into the cyberspace or into the virtual spaces in a way that is respectful, but at the same time allows other people to know better? uh, One interesting thing is there are different approaches to this. But first is education. I think it's important to educate people about that indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge is not to be shared to everyone always. There are certain things that cannot be shared or can be shared just to certain audiences. and especially if we are gonna if we are hoping to do it in a respectful and meaningful way for communities. um, so that's the first one, and the second one that is a little more I would say trying to push more the boundaries is even providing the same licenses, the same type of licenses that these social media platforms are using for owning the knowledge or owning the different media. When you post something, actually indigenous peoples also can use those licenses when you are posting things online. So you are going to be allowed to share certain things online, but under certain protocols. And actually, you can create a license in order to share that knowledge. So it's a little bit of what we have been exploring, and there is a lot. There are a lot of layers of complexity around this, but what you said is so true, because there is a lot of misconceptions and about the audiences and who should be listening to all this knowledge.
Yeah, and I think that is actually one thing that I think is really a potential opportunity. Blockchain technology is the smart contracts, and like being able to put walls of access and things like that. I know I was like recently kind of connected with a museum archivist called Pine from Garden
Mm-hmm.
River, and she did a lot of work inside museums that she worked with to kind of make sure that those protocols about who could access, certain items were in place within those like so cool. But also like how do we build in those protocols into the so you don't even need to teach anyone the rules because it's just built into the um and that is something that I think is uh like kind of complicated for sure still, even though the blockchain has the kind of it's like really transparent and it's a record, a ledger of what's happening there. Someone can still mint, let's say, a non-fungible token that in itself is culturally appropriative, but they technically have ownership of it. So
Mm-hmm.
um I know that the people, a lot of the digital artists and like digital art collectors, indigenous digital art collectives in that space are like starting to have those conversations and even reach out to those people, try and like how do we have a dialogue around cultural appropriation of digital art, um, and especially when you have like complicated intersections of identity and different like legacies happening, and then just like the anonymity of the internet, and how do you verify those things in those protocols in a space that's trying to be anonymous. So yeah, there's just so much um this conversation that really needs to be generated around how we're going to use spaces. I think like no matter, you can be for or against them, but they're gonna be there no matter what. Kind of, it's already happened. It's already started. So how can we shape it in a way that's like sensitive, like indigenous?
Yes. And just before I add in more into the conversation, now there is a new record, 58,000. Um, they just sent me another screenshot, 58,000.
Wow.
Um, yeah, they are just
I didn't even break
insane.
30 in this session, and like it's 10 to 5, so officially in game decompression mode because this is a very tense game, so I like to let my heart
Yes.
rate go down a little bit before I finish.
Yeah. Yeah, just Jacob sent me a screenshot, 58,000.
Definitely like
Wow.
yeah, here we go. Awesome. Yeah, definitely tag us in that. Um, we have our Instagram
Mhm.
handle here. You can also find us on Facebook, the Whitewater Gallery. This is our first official Twitch live stream with a special guest, which is really exciting. We had a little bit of technical issues, but it was such a like fantastic conversation. It couldn't have like went better in my eyes. And it needs to happen, cuz like evaluation data, these things are so fantastic and useful, and they're a part of the ancient technologies that indigenous people have been using forever. Like I remember having this fantastic conversation um with my old coworker Shauna about like how the pipe ceremony is a type of evaluation with creator, and the types of data that you collect by having conversations and relationships and and then having that
Yes.
consultation with the type is just like, you know, evaluation is like not outside of like methodologies that we already have. um but it's like the way that it's used now, it can be really clunky and awkward, especially in community. So it's really about how do we reinstate those processes and keep that reflection ongoing. Because yeah, especially with technology and changing so quickly, it's not really about being an expert, but being like ready to adapt and learn. And I think one of the downsides of colonization is that it's really think that because you don't know something that it's out of your reach.
Mhm.
But really, if you have a community of people that are around you wanting to learn about these things, it's just one day at a time, one article about blockchain a day, and you can figure it out, and these spaces are for you, and you can shape.
Yes, and I think what I always want to share with a lot of folks is this is an ongoing process. It's not that one day everything is gonna be fixed. There are a lot of things to do. There are a lot of aspects to consider in in the designing of digital technology. So from our perspective and with all the team, we always talk that um, what are those main aspects to look at when we are talking about digital technologies? So we have narrowed down four main aspects that we consider we need to be looking at when we are trying to create these spaces. One is about software, and this is about the coding part, the aspect that we were talking about, how we can incorporate other ways of knowing into the coding system, and how we are incorporating traditional knowledge, not just as an additional component, but actually as part of the design of the technology. Then the second aspect that we always consider is that part of embodiment and how we can be respectful of indigeneity and protocols. And that embodiment, how the digital space can embrace the connection back to the land. If there is no connection to the land, there is no point of digital technology. So this is something that we miss sometimes, and especially a lot of Silicon Valley folks, they always claim that the digital spaces are landless. So what we need to do as indigenous peoples is always bring back that conversation to the land, and bring back that conversation of land rights, a conversation of connecting to nature in digital spaces. So it's inviting everyone to reconnect back to that. The third aspect, and we talk a lot about this in other conversations, Reiki, is about infrastructure and how we can decentralize infrastructure, how we can start thinking outside of these big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, how we can get out of those and start creating our own infrastructures that are owned by community. We always say that community needs to own that infrastructure, and how community are an essential part of any digital design. And finally, of course, about data and how that data is so important, and how we need to protect data, and how, as we have sovereignty over the land, we have sovereignty over our data. So that is really important to bring to the conversation. And every time that we are talking to these technologies, designers, policymakers, how we are bringing back these conversations. And it's not going to be easy. We need to acknowledge that this is a very recent conversation that is going on. So we are going to we are going to encounter a lot of pushback and a lot of unwillingness of about thinking about creating digital spaces in different forms, in forms that are not Western based, that are actually incorporating indigenous knowledge, not as a cultural component, but as part of the design process. So I think this is an invitation to everyone to continue considering this in a lot of the ways that they are creating the digital.
Yeah, and I was so glad that you brought the connection back to the land, because I was like, we need to talk about that before we hit 5 p.m. Because it is so important, and I think there's actually a Chrome extension that you can get that will do a land acknowledgement for the servers that are hosting you're at on the internet.
What?
Because yeah,
I want that Chrome. Oh my god.
yeah, yeah, because even though, we're kind of in this weird like liminal digital spaces, it is connected to data centers that physically take up physical space. And then, the decentralized blockchain are all these different computers that are mining and having this environmental impact, these different web 2 models. So there is always that physical connection. And I've heard other indigenous digital artists say, these spaces will never replace that connection. But I've also kind of been talking with my colleagues about how it's more reflective of like the dream space, where when we're dreaming things, we come together, and sometimes we visit each other in our dream. And in digital spaces, that's what it feels like for me. But then, we got to come back to the real world, and that's what we need to expect. And, one of the things I hear elders saying a lot, that I love, is that, like, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we can't neglect that human experience, and we can't neglect the land. So I'm so glad that you brought it back to that, because it's just so important, especially when, like, so many of these technologies are having like a bigger environmental impact than all of the planes in the sky. So it's really a crucial part of the conversation. And I personally, more so as an artist and a dreamer than a software technician or an engineer, always like to think about the fantastical ideas and kind of the futuristic ideas that could happen. And so I like to think about biotechnology and growing renewable computers that don't need mining anymore, because that's another thing that even things like solar panels and renewables, they still require all of these extractive processes. And how can we dream big for the future, for the environment, and for indigenous sovereignty? Um, so I just want everyone to go check out the Indigenous Friends app, and if you're Indigenous, you can reach out and get a key and get into the community, and follow them on Instagram and socials. And it was just an absolute pleasure um, to get my butt kicked by your social media team at Indigenous Friends, and to have such a rich conversation. And I'm just so excited for the work that you're going to be continuing to do. Sure.
Oh, thank you, Ricky, for this space. And we're so excited to share this knowledge with other folks. And yes, please follow us in social media. We are going to be soon posting about our new program, in digital program that is being redesigned. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And we are going to be creating a lot of projects around that. So just continue being in touch. And of course, we'll see you within the app.
Awesome. All right. Bama P. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.